everybody, and welcome to this walkthrough of the text guys with me and RJTV and the dog.
She's clinging, I'm sorry.
Awesome. Welcome, my friend. How are you doing today?
Oh man, it's great down here. How's it up there, bud?
It's starting to be a bit dark here after a weekend of moving to get Jennifer down here. So that's awesome, of course. But yeah, it's awesome to have it done as well, I have to say. So we are back on for another walkthrough of the text guys, and this time it's time for another major, the fall major tournament, the third major from Golf Clash, and we're going to go over hole 1 to hole 9, giving you the best possible of advice how to play these new holes. And yes, they are new. Every single hole is new. You might have been like playing them a couple of times in the regular tour play, but as a general player, we haven't been playing them that much, so we're definitely not dialed in. So if you follow these advice that we will come to with you, then you're definitely going to improve your score right away. So let's go, and we're going to start off with hole number 1. So how do we play that one then?
Okay, well, as you can see on your screen, there's two ways we can play this, and usually I pick one, but in this case, I like both ways for rookies. The straightforward way is the white line, because the black line, you see, it's kind of scary with the trees and whatnot. So, you know, I'm just thinking to myself, okay, only if we have wind at our back, so wind helping the ball go further, I would bring the big topper. If you don't have the big topper, bring your extra mile and a marlin, full top spin, and just try your best to get past those trees. We want that wind at our back so we don't have to overpower such inaccurate clubs. However, if we do take that black line and we don't want to cut through the trees, all hope is not lost. We could aim with a quasar, though. We're going to need a quasar, and we could even bring a quarterback here so we have that excellent ball guide and accuracy. We're going to aim just to the right of those trees. So you see where that first black box is. We're going to aim just to the right of that so our ball guide goes past the trees. We're going to put, with the quasar, full left spin with 1 or 2 top spin, and we're going to use the contour of the actual fairway. It's going to push our ball down towards that third black box. The second one's kind of hard to see because it's in a tree, but that is the third one there, setting us up for a more direct shot towards the hole. And if we play the black line, it doesn't matter which way the wind's blowing. That one is definitely viable. Bring clubs with backspin. So, you know, if you're using a thorn, or, you know, a Saturn, or a Viper, even if you're a little further back, you can definitely get on the green in 2.
Yes, and for pro and expert then, which we are going to play from second tee, and again, like tailwind, we're going to play according to the white line, and with any other type of wind, we're going to play according to the black line. It's pretty simple. It's the same for every type of division, and the only thing that we need to have in mind here that I want to add to the explanation that came from RJ, because again, the play is basically the same, is that backspin on your club is, in my opinion, important. Pin stands short, and if we want to go at the pin directly, we do need backspin. Otherwise, we have to kind of like double bounce ourselves towards the pin. We also need to have in mind the elevation. Like when we play our drive, we are going to have an over adjustment to be made for 20% extra, and to make that even better, as an example, if let's say we do have 5 miles per hour in wind, and we add 20% to that, which will give us 6 miles per hour in wind. So we do, in a 5 mile per hour wind, we adjust for 6 miles per hour because we're playing downhill. For the second shot, we're going to only add 10%, only, but it's still an over adjustment of 10%. So the same type of thing there, 5 miles per hour in wind, we do adjust for 5.5 miles per hour instead with our clubs. I know it could be tricky with the elevation part, but with these holes I'm going to play, it's going to be very important to at least have a thought of how to adjust either uphill or downhill shots. shots. Other than that, there isn't that much to say about hole number 1. Tough one to make an eagle on, in my opinion. Possible, yes, but not a hole where we're going to have to see a bunch of eagles. So we go directly to hole number 2, another one that is going to be tricky, and it's going to be very interesting to hear how we play from the front tee here on hole number 2.
Okay, I have 2 ways to play this hole for rookies, but it depends on the clubs you have available to you. My personal favorite way to play this hole is to literally put your put a guardian in. I'm sorry, I'm tripping over my words here. Put a guardian in with full backspin, pretty much line it up to the hole, and go ahead and hit it. Maybe you might want to take a tick or 2 off of the backspin to make sure that it doesn't kick back and roll back down into the sand. But a low-level guardian will definitely reach with a lot of backspin. If you don't have a guardian, you definitely have a backbone if you're playing in a tournament. With the backbone, we're going to play it straightforward, just like the black line. You're going to want to land right where the box is and put about 1 or 2 bars of top spin on. The only thing that's not straightforward about this hole is the 30% increase in aiming because of the wind.
Yes.
Oh, and Marlin, sorry. Marlin.
Molly ball. Yeah, and from second tee, the long iron play is going to be removed completely. We're only going to play with a wood club, and in my opinion there, it's going to be the sniper, as we are most likely going to have it upgraded enough to be played. If we have a sniper level 5, level 6, then we could be playing with a guardian level 4 instead, for an example. But minor technicalities, but the sniper would be the best club to play with there. There is also another way on this hole that, depending on the wind, that we can play, that is not here on the text guide, but will most likely be on the updated text guides, and I will talk a little bit more about the updated text guides later on in this video, is that we can actually play a rough bump. If we can see that red, there's a bunch of trees, but if we can see that rough part that is in line with the bunker, but on the left side, we can actually hit the rough there, roll towards the pin. Going to be a tricky way to play, but it's going to be possible. But 30% we're going to add to that is played massively downhill. Another hole that is going to be very, very tough, as it's very hard to zoom in properly for those that are adjusting for the rings. From 30, we are going to play, depending on the wind, either with a wood club in max distance or with a driver in the minimum distance of our club, and then it's the same type of play. So both for hole 1 and then now hole 2 is going to be basically the same type of play, no matter the tee that we're going to play from. So now it's going to be again kind of the same type of play here. It's hole number 3, the first par 5. Can we score an eagle on this one, and how do we do that?
Well, we can definitely get an eagle, but I'm thinking albatross. Yeah, we could get an eagle. What am I thinking? Okay, so what we want to do here is we want to bust out that big topper again. However, I know the big topper is an epic club, so if you don't have it, an extra mile will work as well. I really like the black line, aka the right side. Go ahead and bring a marlin if you want. If you're if you're low on gems and you can't afford balls, I'm trying to do as many marlins as possible. However, because it is a par 5, you may want to bring a little bit more expensive ball. Just either knock down the wind, add some distance, side spin, whatever it is. Par 5s, it's better to have the better balls in. However, you can get away with the marlin here. Also, make sure that your woods and your irons all have the backspin on it, because we're going to have to clear over the rough there. And if you look, we don't have much room beyond it, although it does appear from the text guides that there is a slope up. Maybe Tommy can verify that or not. That's the way I would play this this round.
Yes, it's going to be a possible albatross in my opinion as well. First and foremost, we need to have in mind that we're not going to add or subtract anything for any of our shots here. We're actually playing this one as it is, and that is kind of weird for us now when we're used to, oh, it's 10% downhill, 20% downhill, etc. But we're not going to add anything for these shots here on hole number 3. We're going to play, depending on the wind here from the second tee and from the third tee, if we do have tailwind, sorry, we take second tee first. If we do have tailwind, we can clear the rough with our driver to go directly over and roll as far as possible on the next piece of fairway. If we do have crosswind or headwind, we need to bounce over, and then it's important, if we do have to bounce over, that we do have at least a 5 bars backspin, it's topspin plus. That is going to be important. Depending on how far you're going to reach for the next fairway, then we're going to play with either a long iron or we're going to play with a wood club. We're going to use the back of the green, letting the ball go up to the top of the green to fall back down towards the pin. And the Guardian is going to be the best club to play this one with, or the Saturn, as it has a lot of backspin, and we're going to be able to keep ourselves on the green. If we would, like, let's say we would be playing with a sniper, or we would be playing with a Goliath as a long iron, then we don't have that much backspin, then we need to aim. So we're actually using the fringe or even the fairway on the top of the pin to fall back down to gain enough speed. One little thing as well is that the second fairway, which we're going to bounce our driver to, or a ball after we have hit it with our driver to, sloping massively down to the left. So keep yourself on the right side on that one, so you're not getting an unnecessary shot from the rough or from the sand. But this is, in my opinion, it's need to be an eagle, but it's going to be definitely a possible albatross as well, in my opinion. So we go to hole number 4, and we have a par 3, and I think, you know, hole in one possibility, or like, oh, I want to hear, how do we play hole 4?
Yeah, definitely a hole-in-one possibility here, even for us rookies, because the club that would be perfect for this hole would be the backbone, and we should all have the backbone if we're playing in tournaments. I would go with about 1 topspin, depending on wind. You know, that's what the qualifying round is for, is to, you know, see where your spin needs to be, take notes and whatnot. I would go with the Quasar as well, because we are going to be using the full right spin, and I just don't know that a Marlin's going to have enough right spin. So this one's very straightforward as far as that goes.
Yes, and that's the same for Pro Expert T as well. Something that I would like to say is that it's going to be like 2 ways we're going to play it from the Pro and Expert T, not in terms of where we're going to land our ball, but it's like in terms of the club and the ball that we're going to use. We can choose by playing this one with a power 3 ball, with a Titan, with a Kingmaker, and then we can play with a Goliath as a long iron from max distance. But I would not suggest to play with a long iron if we and a power 3 ball if we do have some type of headwind. Then we're going to be in between clubs, and we're going to go over to a wood club, which is going to mess up our adjustment. Then I would instead choose to play with a power 1 or power 0 ball with my sniper in minimum distance of my club. So it all depends on what type of wind we're going to have. Then we're going to choose the ball. So headwind, we choose a power 1 or power 0 ball to play with our wood club. If we do have a tailwind, we choose to play with, I would stretch to a power 2 but also power 3 ball, and we'll play with the Goliath as a long iron. From the third tee, we're going to play with a wood club in almost max distance of our club. It's going to be in between mid and max numbers for that one. We do add 10% to this adjustment as we're playing it slightly downhill. Have in mind something that is a bit technical, but if we do have tailwind, the ball is going to have a different bounce than we're going to have headwind. So from second tee, we're going to play in tailwind, we're going to take away the topspin altogether. And if we do have crosswind, we're going to play with 1 bar of topspin. And if we do have headwind, we're going to play with 1.5 bar of topspin to just clear it, so we get enough speed to get there to the pin. So now we're going to play, or not to play, but we're going to talk about hole number 5, another par 4 that is again elevation adjustments like crazy. But how do we play hole number 5?
Well, for hole number 5, I like to bring out the quarterback. We're going to use the accuracy here and some left curl. So bring your quarterback and a quasar, because once again, we're going to need just a little bit more side spin than Marlin has to offer. We're going to go with a full left spin, about 3/4 of a ball left curl, and a full top spin, I would say. We'll get you right about where that second box is. Then for our second shot here, for our second shot, we have our thorn. Once again, I like using a lot of backspin here just because backspin really just plants it on the green. You know, you don't want to roll around and end up in the rough or the sand. I believe it's the second shot where we're going to have a 30% adjustment. Isn't that green down low? For us rookies and us laymen like myself, 30% will be about 1 to 2 rings extra from wherever you're adjusting it to try to get it to go in the hole.
Yeah, and that's the tricky part with this one. The drive, sure, is going to be a little bit tricky, but we're not having any adding or subtracting for the drive. We're just going to play it as it is. And from the second tee, we could be playing with a quarterback if we do have some tailwind. But I would kind of like, if we would be having tailwind, I would like to try to go with a berserker ball or maybe a ghost ball, go full blast overpower, and try to use the drop that we do have from the top of the first fairway when it falls down to the second fairway. And we're most likely going to actually reach down to either a short rough iron chip or a short wedge from the fairway. That is going to be only with some good and strong tailwind. But to take this, now I went ahead of myself, but if we take this as a general play and we have headwind, crosswind, then we need to go with a club that do have at least 50 in curl, so we can curl it to the left. So we can curl it past the trees using 3 to 5 bars of topspin to leave ourselves up for the thorn shot that RJ did describe. That is also 30% downhill, but to just add as well, for those that aren't thorn lovers, then you can play with a hornet or whatever short iron you want. But the important part is 30% extra adjustment for this shot. And I would suggest to play with a ball with a lot of side spin as well. As minimum a quasar, katana would be good, but also kingmaker would work as well. From the third tee, we're going to do the same type of shot. It's going to be much trickier, especially if we do have some headwind. Then it's going to be a little bit tricky to get that ball to get past the trees there in the center. But in my opinion, to get a decent shot for the pin, and also like to not struggle just saving the birdie, then we need to get past the trees there in the middle. Doesn't matter how hard and strong the wind is going to be. So hole number 6, another par 5 we have here, and this is going to be interesting because the game makers has made this one a little tough with different type of wind. So how do we play it from the front tee?
Well, I was just thinking, to myself, wherever they put these courses, I hope they have great drainage, because can you imagine when it rains, all these downhill courses? And wow. So anyway, I guess that's why they call it Eagles Peak. We're coming up top in the nosebleed section and coming down. But hole number 6, I would go with an extra mile. And once again, add 20% or approximately 1 ring to whatever adjustment you're going to make because of the elevation difference. Titan ball, I believe, would be a good ball here. After all, it is a par 5, guys. I would go with full top spin for low to medium level extra miles. We don't want to go over 6 top spin, I believe, was the magic number I got from that guy up there. Onto the U. On top of that, what we're going to do is the ball's going to land right about where that black box is. So, we're going to bounce over the rough, and then the ball's going to actually park where the second black line is. Then the second shot is just like the first shot. We're going to bring the big dog And we are also going to land our big dog on the next fairway up towards the rough, and we're going to bounce over again, hopefully onto the green, the putting surface, or we can also do a rough bump, whatever you prefer. Depending on the clubs that you have, you are going to need to bring a lengthy wood club. So I love to say more accurate clubs, but us rookies don't really have too many clubs that could go about a 175 plus for the rough bump. So that's why I'm saying, and with topspin, I should say, because the Viper doesn't have much topspin. So, you know, if you got the clubs, you could go for it that way. Let me see. I just lost my spot here. I'm sorry. Yeah. Oh, actually, I lost my spot because I was done.
Yeah. So, and this is actually going to be a little bit tougher from second tee than it is from the front tee, even though there is more upgraded clubs playing in Pro and Expert and also Master. And for Pro and Expert, it's going to be kind of in between. It's like if we do have some sort of a tailwind or crosswind, but no headwind, then we can reach over the rough there on top by going with some overpower. With crosswind, we need to go with max overpower. With some tailwind, we need to go with just a slight amount of overpower. The topspin is going to be helping us big time, like 4 to 6 bars of topspin getting over to the next platform. I would prefer, according to the black line, go by the rough bump, as we're most likely going to have an upgraded sniper in at least level 8. Then we're going to have the distance for doing that. Otherwise, choose a big dog cataclysm to get enough distance to do the rough bump, or you play with a sniper to bounce before the rough. And then go from there. But the problem is, what do we do if we do have headwind? I've seen so many players in Tour 8 going full blast overpower, getting stuck in the rough or in the sand. Then we are actually needed to go according to the white line. And it makes no sense when you stand at tee to play to the right, because we have, like, I don't know how many it is. I think it's like 9 or 10 trees in the way of the pin, and I see people curling around there, but there is actually a gap that we do love to have in between 2 trees there in the front, so we can actually go for the rough bump, going for the pin for that albatross, even if we do play according to the white line. However, if we do play according to the white line, we do need a club with a lot of curl. I'm not saying just 50% of curl, because I would like to have at least 70 in curl. So I would say an Apocalypse, even if it would be in level 1, level 2, would be a better club, in my opinion, than playing with a Thor's Hammer level 4, level 5, for an example. So this is going to be an interesting hole. I do believe there is room for making some albatrosses here. We're going to add 20% extra for the first shot, the drive. That means for all the divisions, because we're playing downhill. The second shot is going to be 10% extra, because that's also slightly downhill. Important to have in mind when going in for an albatross on hole number 6. Hole number 7, my friend, it's the last par 3, and it's also a very, I would say, I call it weird, but it's how do we play it in rookie?
Yeah, I mean, why would you plant trees right in between the golfer and the holes? Who thought out that? No. Actually, I like the black line because of the sloping green. So with this, once again, youngster rookie accounts, backbone right side, full left spin. This time we're going to be big spenders, and we're going to bust out the katana ball, because we're going to want to use full left spin. And remember, the katana has a 3 spin. And that your second bounce, okay, so you see the black box, you're going to want to bounce the ball there. Your second bounce is going to be right around the fringe of the fairway for your best shot to get a hole-in-one. No need for curl, and in most cases, no need for any topspin or backspin.
Yeah, and I was like, when going into this one the first time, in both when I played it in Tour 4 and also then in Tour 8, playing from the second tee, I was like, how the curse word would I be making a hole-in-one on this one? And then I actually got one. So it was kind of nice to see, and especially after playing this hole a couple of times on on tour 8 from the second tee with different type of wind, I kind of noticed a couple of things. First and foremost, we're going to play this one downhill. 10% needs to be over adjusted here. And second of all, if we do play with a power 3 ball, we're going to be most likely in between clubs, especially if we are going to have tailwind. So I would suggest that we do play with a power 1 ball as max. If we do not have any high wind resistance ball, then I would suggest we play with a quasar, because we also need to have the side spin. We can stay without the side spin, play with a navigator, but I would have the side spin to at least give ourselves that room to play a little bit more to the right of the trees. And it slopes massively down from right to left, and we do want, as RJ say, we want the second bounce to be on the fringe, but we also want the ball to coming up a little bit on top of the pin to fall down, because the green slopes from the top down towards the left, and that is important when it comes to making that hole in one. It's like we're going to see many players are going to be very close, but it's going to be hard to get it to stop close. So having this one in the tour play is going to, sorry for the language, but suck. But in a tournament play, it's going to be definitely be a hole that is going to be a possible hole in one. And I love that with new courses, when you feel like, oh my god, you have no clue how to play them, and then you figuring it out, and now this is my favorite par 3 going into this tournament. So
now Tom, be honest, your hole in one, you dunked it, didn't you?
I did what?
You dunked it.
No. Dunked it, oh my god. It's like, no. I should have said yes, because it would be maybe better content. The people would be asking more in the comments, and that would be, oh way. No, I did get a very lovely bounce, second bounce up there, a little bit on the top of the pin, fall back down, and just a clean hole in one. It is actually on the channel here as a guide for hole number 7, as a whole guide for Pro and Expert division. I hope I can recreate that one, but it's going to be tough. But we are going to go towards, I think this is going to be the most interesting hole for many players to watch, because there has been a big talk and discussion on how to make this green in one, and you're going to covering if we're going to play it a little bit more conservative, we might don't want to take that big of a risks and stuff like that, and I'm going to take the little bit more aggressive line. And so I'm very interested to hear that if we want to play it a little bit more conservative and have a good shot for the eagle from distance, how do we play this one?
Really, it's a game of eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Depending on whether you like to go with the wind, against the wind, if you feel more comfortable on the right, more comfortable on the left. I don't really see a huge advantage to going left or right on your initial drive with your extra mile. You know, I would also say that a marlin ball would be enough because of where we're going to be taking our second shot from. Get as close to the end of the fairway as you possibly can. And, you know, this is where I say if you, you know, if you go into the rough a little bit, it's okay if you do it while you're qualifying. But, you know, you don't want to do it in the opening round because, you know, it lowers your chances to get the eagle. But try to get yourself, just make sure you get past those trees. You don't literally have to be like inches away from the rough, but we want to be pretty far up there because we don't want those trees in our way. I also have a 30% adjustment because it's downhill, although my notes here, I'm not sure if it's the second shot is at 30% or not. Tommy, hopefully you can correct me on that when you, the way I wrote my notes, I'm sorry. Let's see, use the thorn and backspin for your approach shot, whether you're on the left or the right. Once again, I keep saying the thorn. We don't want the ball to like get loose, and you know, the Hornet is a great club, but with really small greens, I love the control the backspin gives you. So that's about it. You know, it's pretty straightforward. Left, go right, doesn't really matter. Approach with your 30% with caution, and I'd love to see how we could get on the green in one.
Yeah, and I'm going to, it's going to be, if we take the third tee first, actually, this time, and not the second tee. Third tee is going to be a little bit different. If we do have some sort of a tailwind, then it's definitely going to be possible for us to make this green in one. If the game makers decide to give us headwind, there isn't a possibility for us to get to the green in one. That's important to have in mind. But if we do want to go and talk a little bit about from the second tee, because it's going to be the same type of landing spot that we're going to have from the third tee as well. We're going to have to, as you see the white line, we might have to zoom in a little bit, as much as I can at least. But the white line here, that is just by this bunker, we're going to have we're going to have the we're going to have a tiny bit of the we're going to have a tiny bit of the blue ring just inside the bunker, and we're going to find the gap that is between two of the trees there on the front, and we're going to play in that hole. It's going to be easier to watch in the hole guide that I do have on the channel. We're going to go with a club that gives us at least 5 bars of topspin. And big topper would be absolutely perfect, but also clubs Extra Mile, Thor's Hammer, Apocalypse will work as well. And we're going to get the first bounce down into the rough, and then we're going to roll out to the fairway. Sometimes we're going to get a bounce in the rough that's going to make the ball stop, and we're going to just roll slightly out to the fairway. And sometimes we're going to roll all the way towards the pin as well. I've been playing this whole this type of shot in any type of, like every type of wind, headwind, crosswind, tailwind, like southeast, southwest, etc, etc. And have in mind, with headwind, we're going to have a compressed ball guideline, which means that we have the risk, we do take the risk of getting stuck in the rough. But I do value a rough iron shot as